Okay, Stan the Fan Charles back with more conversation with Lesa Densmore, admitted compulsive gambler who now works with addicts to help them do exactly what, Lesa?
The goal is to get addicts into recovery, to get them living a life of sustained recovery, getting their lives back to manageable again, and providing them really with the tools and the assistance that they need to overcome the barriers that are out there when you're dealing with addiction. And there are many out there that make recovery often seem impossible. And I provide assistance. I'm an advocate for the addict. I work with families and helping them to understand the severity of the illness of addiction. And I represent an addict's rights. I'm there for them legally. I basically am a caring, compassionate person that's a non-clinical, has non-clinical involvement in their life to help get them on a path of recovery.
Do you think it's necessary to be someone that counsels people? Have you had to have the experience of being an addict? I know Mike Gimbel, a self-pronounced, former drug addict, does Powered by Me. Do you think, in other words, does it resonate more because the counselor has had the problem?
I think, personally, yes. The lived experience is highly valuable when you're sitting across from an addict or you're sitting across from a family, because I actually am proof. I represent proof that recovery is possible. I'm the example. And I think that anyone dealing with addiction, and in particularly gambling addiction, because most people that are wrapped up in a gambling addiction have a significant, often narcissistic, manipulative, lying type of a personality toward that hopelessness stage, and they need to have somebody that can recognize that and to be able to reason with them without anger, because there's so much anger that gets involved with addiction for family members, and the shame, the guilt, and being somebody that can understand that and to give assistance to get life back on track. I think it's critical, and that's why I became a recovery specialist. And I think that the clinical component is important. I think sponsorship is important, but you've got the in-between, which is what I am. And I know for me, when I went to rehab, my recovery specialist, who was a peer and provided peer support for me, was the one very strong key to me believing that my life can get back on track, and that is critical in an addiction situation.
In getting back on track, if we have somebody that's clicked on PressBox online because they know this is here, and they're seeing your face, and they're here to hear information about this, what do you say to somebody that's really in the throes of what you are in the throes of, where it's out of control?
The first thing that I would recommend is educate yourself. If you're clicking on here, there's a reason why. If you're clicking on here because you have consequences because of gambling behavior, or a family member has consequences because of gambling behavior, without educating yourself, you're not going to become aware of how destructive and how real the addiction is. That's one of the biggest things that I come across, is people don't get it. They don't understand what they're dealing with. They think that it's something that they can stop. They think it's something that they can that will end at some point in time. Gambling addiction ends in prison or suicide, without treatment or without somebody coming in and diffusing it. That's how it ends. It almost ended in a suicide for me. So I think that, one, of course, I can be contacted, but if you were to Google gambling addiction, if you were to Google anything related to gambling, you will come up with a lot of resources out there that will educate you and help you to understand the severity. And then once you get it, once you realize that as a family member or as an addict yourself, that's where you have to dig deep, which is what I had to do. You
had to do the work.
I had to do the work, and I had to dig deep and realize I have disgusting behaviors because of this addiction. It had gone on for a long time: lying, stealing, manipulating, writing bad checks, vehicle repossessions, living in a tent for 8 months, losing my residence, relationship issues, and those are heavy consequences. And I'm not a bad person, and I'm not somebody who represents I'm a professional woman, and I think that we need to know that there's help out there. Don't feel ashamed to contact me, because I get it. I understand it. So at the very least, if I can't help you directly, I can provide you as a resource as to where you can get help. I don't care where you are in this country. I can be that resource for you where I can help you to get the help you need. And it's important for everyone out there that is potentially dealing with this to not sit on it. You've got to be proactive with addiction. As angry as you might be or shameful as you might be, you need to be proactive.
You mentioned that this, for you, ended with a suicide attempt. Yeah. How did you dig out of that hole, and when did you realize there really was some hope at the end of this tunnel?
As I was kind of mentioning to you in our little chat before we actually started taping, I realized 2 years prior to going into treatment that I needed help. And so I started looking into working with the mental health department in my county. I had psychological evaluations, psychiatric evaluations. I became very concerned for myself. I knew how deep things were going. I knew the illegal things that I was doing in order to get my fix. I knew that this was not going to end, and I really felt like it would take me down. I had an intervention with my family, and that was exposure. It helped, but the 9 months after my intervention is when I fell the hardest, and I cycled completely out of control. I lost all hope, and I don't know what that little window was for me, but I just became very angry, and I contacted my family after this last cycling weekend that I had that almost took my life, and I said, my life stops right here. And I know that not everybody can do that. I had to stop my work. I had to stop my relationships. I had to completely stop in my tracks, and I contacted the residential treatment program that I went to, and I said, if you don't do something to get me there, I will be on your doorstep in the morning, because this is going to kill me. And my family, really came on board. They understood that, and we were able to get me there within a couple of weeks, and it saved my life. Treatment works. Treatment works.
Treatment works. All right. Well, Lesa Densmore is living testimony to that right now. And again, up on our screen is the information you might need to contact her, and she can help you because treatment works. Lesa, thank you very much.
Thank you.